Mr. Dancito. So I guess for everyone that doesn't know you, I don't know who doesn't know you, but if they don't, maybe just kind of a short, brief introduction of who
Yeah,
you
yeah, absolutely. So my name is not Dancito, although on social media that is really what it's kind of become. It's become an old college nickname. My name is Dan Diaz, and but just everyone who actually does business with me or knows me or knows anything about me, Dancito is kind of my following. A little bit about me. I began my real estate investing career in November of 2015. First deal generated me over $80,000 in upfront profit and a $400 monthly spread. I fell in love with the model. I didn't know what that model was called, but now I know that that was a subject to property acquisition, followed by an owner finance wrap disposition. So that's what really kind of triggered me into the path of owner finance. Around that time, I came across, Eric and a few other pillars of the owner finance world, and I fell in love with the model in general. The model of home ownership being the bank and producing residual income. In 2016, we probably did about maybe 25, 30, 31, 32 deals where we bought the house, cleaned it up. I never fixed it. I mean, Eric fixes houses, flippers fix houses. I don't fix houses. I clean them up. I mow the grass, trim the trees, take the dead cats out, and I bomb it with fabulous or pine sol if you're white. I don't know, whatever kind of works for you. Put them back on the market, and we'll owner finance them. So we did probably about 30 in 2016 that way. And the recurring problem that we saw is that at the end of the day, the house that we had was not the house that buyers were looking for. So we were getting low down payments, 8, 9, 10, 11%. It was hard to get interest rates out of them. It was just hard to kind of, make things happen. That 32 home portfolio went to hell. I mean, delinquent. We did about half of them foreclosed. I mean, it was just kind of a bad situation. But the shining moment is that we were getting these leads as we were doing marketing, and these leads were of people who came to us and say, hey, we saw that you do owner financing. We're not exactly looking at your little dingy house for our home, but we're looking for this. We're looking for that. We're looking for newer. We're looking for bigger. We're looking for 2 stories. We're looking for a swimming pool. We're looking in Bernie. We're looking in Stone Oak. We're looking in Alamo Heights and Almost Park. We're looking at $400,000, $500,000, $600,000 homes. Do you have it? Of course, in 2016, my answer was no. And it was sad because they were practically begging me. They're like, we have 20, 25, 30, 30. We'll put half down, but we want that house. We're not going to settle for yours. And unfortunately, I was caught in a situation where I did not have what they were looking for, but they had what I was looking for, which is a very well qualified buyer from an owner finance underwriting perspective, which is a big down payment and big ability to repay. Around that time, we also learned about self-directed IRAs, the wonderful world of self-directed IRAs. These are usually white folks in their mid-50s who have a sizable 401k, $2, $3, $4, $5 million. And they're at a point in their lives where they don't want to lose their shorts anymore. And they want to stabilize their investment portfolio. They're no longer necessarily looking for growth. They're just looking for stability. They want to prepare themselves for retirement age. And we learned that there was about $3 trillion just sloshing around in the market looking for a somewhat stable, predictable rate of return parking spot. So that's where we kind of married the two and be like, hey, I think there's something nice that we can do here. So around 2017, we tested a model where we went back to those clients and we said, hey, we got something, full disclosure, it's a test product, but we may now be able to get you the home that you're looking for in Alamo Heights, in Almost Park, in Stone Oak, outside the Dominion, in Bernie. Would you like to try it out? And the process was simple. Instead of limiting you to our inventory, we're now going to let you pick any home off the MLS. We're going to provide the funding for you. We're going to buy it and owner finance it to you. Are you down? And we were so impressed at how many of those leads were like, yeah, because we still haven't found the house we're looking for. So we tested that product in 2017. We did maybe 5 or 6 deals under that model because it was a little scary. And but we fell in love with the results. And then 2018, full force ahead, 2018, 2019, all the way to now. About 50-60% of our model falls under, of our business falls under this, where we look for the buyers first. Once we make a determination of the real world ability to repay, we provide the funding so that they can purchase any home off the MLS. We do everything from $200,000 up to $2 million all over Texas. Now, what the hell does that have to do with you? And why is Eric making me be here at 9:10 in the morning to listen to his douchebag story that I still haven't connected the dots as to how I can make money? Well, this is the way. As a real estate agent, all of our referrals, by the way, 99% of our referrals come from y'all, from real estate agents. Real estate agents many times come in contact with leads, and I call them leads at this point because they're not buyers. And they say, hey, I'm self-employed, I have bad credit, or I don't have a social, I only have an ITIN, or I don't have 2 years of tax returns, or I don't report all my income. I can't get a conventional mortgage. I need owner financing. Can you help me? And you probably get real excited. You're like, well, I'll help anybody. I'm just trying to make a commission. So you go online and you look at the MLS and you're like, okay, what home are you looking for? Okay, 3, 4, 5, $600,000 range. How many are out there? And you quickly realize that the pool of homes is very small. In the $200,000 range, it's a little bit bigger. There's a few more options, but in the 3, 4, 5, $600,000 range, it's almost non-existent. Now, the ones that do exist, likely are by investors who purchased them subject to the existing financing and are wrapping them to an owner finance buyer. Full disclosure, there is nothing wrong with that. I'm very familiar with the process. So is Eric. There is nothing illegal about it. There is nothing wrong with that, except that there is a teeny tiny little bit of a hidden time bomb that could blow up if the lender decides to call the loan due. And then everyone is in a big mess. Now, I don't know the legal repercussions as an agent. I'm not an agent myself, but I've talked to a lot of agents, and that just scares them that their names are in that transaction as part of the paperwork of a deal that they recommended that might potentially blow up in someone's face. With us, that doesn't happen because we're sourcing the money, we're closing at a title company. All previous liens, judgments are paid off, and they get a brand new mortgage that is clean. The home is free and clear of any debt, aside from the debt that they took, obviously. And the home is truly, truly theirs. So how do agents benefit from knowing that we exist? Two ways, if you want to write them down. The first way is when you approach a seller, how do you lock in that listing quicker? There's 190,000 active licenses out there. How do y'all stand out? I don't know. That's a tough question. I mean, I'm sure you have your spiel, I'm sure you have your pitch, and I'm sure there's legitimate reasons, but how do you truly, genuinely stand out from 190,000 active licenses? This is how. You talk to the seller and you say, hey, listen, Mr. Seller, I'm sure you're going to have a lot of opportunities to interview a few good quality agents, but I want you to ask them this question. Do you have the ability to market my home to 2.4 million eyeballs in Texas who cannot qualify for a traditional bank mortgage, who need owner financing, and by the way, cash me out? The answer with the competition will always be no. The answer with you will always be absolutely. If you sign up with me as a listing, we're going to go ahead and put your home in front of cash, conventional, FHA, USDA, all the traditional conventional buyers. In addition to those, we're going to put your house in front of 2.4 million eyeballs that in Texas cannot get a bank mortgage, that need owner financing. And by the way, we're going to cash you out. We don't expect you to hold a note in any way, shape, or form. Because of my you don't have to give my name, because of my relationships with investors. So this is the reason you need to sign up with me now. That, I think, is a valuable way to stand, to differentiate yourself from the competition. At the end of the day, the seller wants to know, what can you do for me? And when you tell them, hey, I'm going to be able to put your home in front of 2.4 million eyeballs that the competition cannot, That's why you should sign up with me. I think that's valuable. By the way, if you're wondering where 2.4 million eyeballs came from, that's the self-employed folks that registered in Texas. And likely most of them need some sort of form of owner finance. If not, they pay a lot of money on taxes. So that's who we're looking at. Who is your avatar as a buyer for owner financing? There's basically three qualifiers or three descriptions. One, the self-employed folks, and these are the ones I want you to go after. Self-employed folks that have 2 years of tax returns or underreport. These are the plumbers, electricians. These are the people that have 5 trucks or less, 5 employees or less, that maybe have an address, but are doing $1.5, $2 million or less. That's your avatar that needs owner financing. They are already wanting to live in neighborhoods in the $400,000, $500,000, $600,000 range. They're already paying rent in those neighborhoods. They just want to own a home. They just want to own a home. So that's one avatar. The second avatar is folks that don't have a social security number in this country yet. They only have ITIN. They're really nice for me as an investor because they're great payers. But unfortunately, they're limited. Eric's like, yeah, I know they're great payers. They're great payers. I mean, so as an investor, I love them.
Yeah.
But I will warn you that from a commission perspective, they're going to be in the $200,000 to $300,000 range. Self-employed folks, they're going to be in the $500,000 to $800,000 range. So from a check perspective, from a commission perspective, you're gonna really like the self-employed folks. There's also the language barrier. If you don't know Spanish, I mean, that might be a little bit of a language barrier. Here at the office, todos hablamos español. We know our people, so we can definitely take care of them. The final avatar is people with bad credit. Less than 5% of our portfolio are bad credit folks. As a matter of fact, I ran the numbers across our portfolio, and the average credit score is about a 710. So ironically, these are people with great credit. They just don't pay their taxes to Uncle Sam the way they should. And they have two options. Option number one, either I pay a bunch of money on taxes for the next 2 years, or I dump that money into my home purchase. So when they realize it's not a matter of saving money with Dan, it's just a matter of where do I put my money? Do I put it to Uncle Sam in the coffers, or do I pay it in my home? It just kind of makes sense at that point to just go ahead and put it into a home. The second opportunity that you guys have as an agent, just knowing that we exist, is go after these buyers that nobody is taking care of. I promise you, every single agent in San Antonio and surrounding that gets this avatar of clients, they say, yeah, go fix your credit. Yeah, go pay money on taxes. Yeah, come back to me in a year once you have 2 years of tax returns. They don't know how to service them because they know that the current inventory of owner finance homes on the MLS sucks. So these are the people that I would highly recommend you think about going after. Who here, by a raise of physical or electronic hands, has heard that the riches are in the niches? The riches are in the niches. So I'm just proposing that you look for one niche to massively attack. I just got out of a conference in Dallas, and I was blown away by a real estate agent there. His niche was anesthesiologists. I mean, talk about getting niche.
Yeah.
Anesthesiologists in the Dallas-Fort Worth area with 10 years or more in the practice. And I was like, bro, that's niche. And he says, yeah, he goes, my clients, it's about 1,150 people. I know exactly who my clients are. I have become their best friends. I've invited them to networking events. And guess what? Whenever any one of those 1,150 people are looking for a home, I'm the only person on their radar. And the nice thing for him, I mean, he understood his avatar client. These were people who were looking for $800,000 to $1 million homes. Great credit, riches are in the niches. So look for your niche, whatever that is. Don't be the agent that says, I help buyers and sellers and investors. Everyone does that. They're never going to go to you.
Look at White Line Realty. I mean,
Yeah.
we're a niche brokerage. You know, we're different. than any other brokerage out there, as far as I'm concerned, with teaching agents how to invest, like literally teaching them. Most brokerages are like, no, 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 no.
So niches, the riches are in the niches. So find your niche. Maybe it can be the plumbers in San Antonio. Maybe it can be, and narrow it down. Maybe not just self-employed. Maybe it can be electricians in San Antonio. Maybe it can be landscaping companies in San Antonio. Maybe it can be people from Honduras that came in the last 3 years. I don't know. I don't care. But I would highly recommend that you look for a niche. Now, the beautiful part is it almost doesn't matter, I guess. I mean, it almost doesn't matter, because what you want to do is you want to become the authority in that niche. Plant your flag and say, this is my territory. I'm going to farm it. As agents, y'all are very familiar with farming your territory. And normally you apply to geography. Like, this is my subdivision. Get out of my territory. I'm farming this territory. Well, you can also do virtual farming by farming a particular niche. So if you get anything out of this, maybe get that, find a niche, look for a niche, declare your niche for 2023 and say, anybody in this niche, in this zip code, in this industry, I want to be your go-to guy. I've spoken for about 20 minutes, but I want to continue the conversation with questions. So what questions do you have for me that I can kind of address? So you can raise either your virtual hands or your, go ahead, Eric.
I do want to jump in and just add to one thing. I'm sure a big question for everyone is, okay, well, how do I find these people that don't qualify? And I mean, I'm not a very smart guy, but I would just literally start Googling lenders and calling them, pick out like 5 or 6 and just bug them and say, hey, who have you rejected this week? What if I can help you, or whatever, just who have you rejected, and try to get those people, right? Because everyone's going to start calling there, they get rejected. You've got to be the guy that comes in and, saves the day. Or even other agents, like
100%. The leads are with other agents. They're in their back pockets.
Yeah.
So
I had this client, but they didn't qualify. Oh, really? Would you happen to have their number? Why? Don't worry about it. Give me their number.
I want to send them donuts.
Yeah, and then one more thing, and I'll let everyone else go. Sorry. Talking about a niche. I trained a guy. I don't know if you remember him, Adam Odawumi. Way back in the apartment days. He was the very first guy I hired at Alamo Home Source, and I trained him from the ground up. He worked at AT&T, I think, as a phone salesman. Anyways, great guy. It's like my brother to this day. And when I got him his license and all that, and I said, hey, you need to go do something. And I said, he's like, well, I'm gonna go be a realtor. I'm gonna start my own brokerage. I said, go for it, but don't be just another one. And so his niche was investors. And he literally built his entire brokerage on doing nothing but helping investors buy properties. And he's very successful, has a very successful business right now. And he stuck to his niche over the last 10 years. So
yeah. A common misconception is that if I stick to one client or one niche, that I'm going to lose other clients. And although technically, that might be true, 2 things will happen. One, there will be such a spotlight to those that fit your avatar, that fit your client, that more of those are going to come to the ecosphere. The second thing is that to that client that you think you might alienate will be so impressed by your laser-like focus that they might decide to, hey, clearly you know what you're doing. Clearly you're on the game. Would you take an exception and hire me on as a buyer? I hate to say it, but so many agents out there simply come off as being unfocused, unorganized. They don't have their crap together. I don't know if they do it part-time. I know many do, but they look like they're doing it part-time. They look like this isn't what put breads on the table. And don't be like that. Be professional. Know what your niche are. Work on your elevator pitches, and really just be able to to know exactly what it is that you do. If I have no questions,
Yeah, I'm sorry,
I
I
have no questions.
interrupted that. Does
No,
anyone
it's okay.
have questions? I see two.
How do you go about identifying a niche? Like, do you have a certain amount of people that you've already sold and you're like, oh, they all kind of fit into the same category, or do you actively hunt like a certain type of people just because that's what you want to sell to?
Yeah. So our avatar is self-employed folks. So that's who our niche is. But let me ask you a couple questions. Before you came into the agency world, what did you do?
Oh, I do marketing actually. I'm not an agent currently.
Oh, okay.
He's our,
I don't.
he's our
Oh,
marketing
okay.
guy.
Oh, okay, cool. So,
Yeah.
my recommendation would be just look at your background. Why did I go into owner financing? Well, and it's funny because I didn't know this until I got involved in it. But again, your DNA just does it. The first home that my parents bought when they came into this country was owner financing. That was their first home. They came from Mexico. I was born in Mexico. I was raised here, but I was born in Mexico. And the first home that they bought was on South Cross and Roland in San Antonio. I'm sure Eric knows exactly that. He might have been his house. I don't know. But
lot of houses
no,
on South
no, that was a while back. That was about 42 years ago. So it might have
Cross.
been
No,
Mitch's
that's
house.
zero.
Might have been Mitch's house.
Yeah, right?
So that resonated with me. So whenever you're looking for a niche, obviously, for example, in your case, if you were an agent, it wouldn't make sense for you to say, my niche is going to be funeral directors. What do you know about them? Where do they hang out? Where are they at? So you look in your background, who do you naturally oscillate around? For that agent that I shared with you in Dallas, he was an anesthesiologist. So for him, it became very natural to grow his niche there. So for your niche, just who are you around already? Who are you around already? But if you don't, just pick one. I don't want to say it doesn't matter, but it almost doesn't. It really almost doesn't. If you're gonna pick a geographic subdivision to farm, and you're gonna call that your niche, does it really matter? I mean, I guess stay away from Nogalitos, and 36th Street and Zarzamora. You might want to go to zip code 78, 209. You might want to go to Stone Oak. But within that area, does it really matter? No, it really does. Does that kind of answer your question?
Yep.
Just pick something. Anyone else? Oh, come on, are y'all asleep already?
So I'm gonna jump in and just explain a little more. So y'all might be like asking, okay, so I find this owner finance buyer, or I find this owner finance seller. Now what do I do? How does Dan help me? Like, who is
So
Dan?
I was gonna go into the process at
Perfect.
that moment. So the first questions you have when you come a client is, can they get approved? You already know that. Take them to a conventional mortgage lender. You want to know how big of a home they can buy. If they say no, I've already been rejected, ask them, why were you rejected? Most of our clients, we do send them to traditional mortgage brokers first, because I really do believe in doing the right thing. And if somebody can qualify through a traditional conventional mortgage, it's going to be cheaper than us, and I'll go over costs in just a minute, but it is going to be cheaper than us. So do the right thing, send them to the lender first. Now, if they already know, no, I've already been rejected, I'm self-employed, I don't report, or I have bad credit, or I don't have 2 years of tax returns, great. The questions you need to ask is this: do you have 30% to invest into your home? If you wrote that down, I want you to erase it, because that's not the question that I want you to ask. But I'm sharing that with you because that's the math. So what I want you to ask is, what price point of a home are you looking for? Let's say they tell you, well, I'm looking for something in this area, this side of town, this neighborhood. Okay, looks like homes in that area are about $400,000. Do you think a $400,000 home would work for you? Yeah, I think that would work really well. I want you to do the math very quickly of what 30% of $400,000 is. So take your calculators and you're going to realize that that's about $120,000. So what I want you to ask is not, do you have 30%, but do you have $120,000 to invest into your home purchase? And shut up. The reason it's massively important that you give them a dollar amount versus a percentage is because most people cannot do simple math in their heads. If you say, hey, do you have 30% of $400,000? All they're going to hear is 30%, and their answer is, no, I only have 10%. That's what's going to vomit out of their mouths, and you've lost. On the other hand, if you do the math for them and you say, well, you're going to need about $120,000 to close your $400,000 home. Do you have it? Then there's no math they have to do. They just have to answer the question, do they have it, yes or no? Now, if they say, no, I don't have it, ask them, well, how much do you have? If they give you anything close to 120 or whatever number you gave them, if they give you anything close to that amount, guess what? They're lying to you, they have it. They're just trying to negotiate. So if they say, no, I don't have 120, I only have 100,000. I only have 90, I only have 110, I only have 75. Do the math, take out a calculator and say, well, it looks like you only have $100,000. We may be able to get you into about a $335,000 home. Do you think that'll work for you? If the answer is, yeah, I think that'll work for you, fantastic. The first step in the process with this investor that'll be able to get you that home is to schedule a free, no obligation phone consultation. Free, no obligation phone consultation. That's done directly on our website. And I'll go ahead and leave our website in the chat. I guess I can do that now. ofmenow.com. ofmenow. OF like owner finance, not like OnlyFans. Dirty-minded people out there. There's a story I'll tell you later, Eric. But I've actually gotten money offered for that website.
Oh, I bet.
So OF me now, ownerfinancemenow.com. Have them click on the buyers tab, and they'll have a link to my calendar where they can set up the consultation. I usually do most of the consultations myself. That is a critical, vital part of the process, and that's where we're going to share terms, cost, and conditions. Now, if they say an amount that is very far from what you quoted, like for example, if you say you're going to need about 120,000, and they say, no, I only got about 40,000, then that's probably all they got. If the amount is far from what you quoted them, that probably is all they have. And at that point, just let them know, hey, listen, I don't want to beat you up, but a $40,000 investment, it's only going to get you about a $135,000 home. Do you think that'll work for you? Obviously, the answer is no. Now, the second question is, how quickly can you come up with the difference? This is where you find out if they're simply negotiating you hard or if they really do have the money. Because if they say any amount under 3 months, so for example, if they say, well, I can probably put it together in a month or two, they're lying to you. They have the money. Or if they say, well, I'm selling a property, and it should close shortly, then I can get the money. There's the money. Or if they tell you money is not a problem. If they tell you money is not a problem, I want you to believe them. Because they're not out there. These are business owners. They're not out there to waste their time. So if they tell you money is not a problem, they have the money. They just don't want to tell you. And that's okay. Send them to a consultation. The ones I don't want you to send to a consultation is the ones that they tell you the amount of money is so far off. Like I said, 40,000 when you're asking for 120, so far off. And the ones that tell you, man, it's going to take me like 3 years to put the money together. They're not lying to you. They're just broke. I mean, that's kind of the sad truth. So, second question, do we need 30%? No. Most of the times we can take care of them with only 20%. But don't quote 20% because they never have the amount that you're asking for. Eric knows that. They never miraculously have the amount that you're asking for. So in the case of the $300,000 home, I want you to quote the equivalent of 30%. Now, sometimes we do need 30%. If they really suck, I mean, we need to compensate. But most of the time, we really do only need 20% total initial investment. So in the $300,000 home, we're only going to need about $60,000 to close it. So that's where you kind of need to be aware. That's why if they said they have 70 or 80, send them to the consultation because likely we can probably do it with the money that they have. So that's a powerful kind of negotiation tool. Don't speak in percentages. Speak in dollar amounts. That'll get your yeses or nos, and that'll get your pre-qualification. So I'll share a quick story. A lady, I just had her about Monday. I think it was Monday. She calls me up and she says, hey, my agent told me to give you a call, which, by the way, don't ever do that. don't give them my number. They need to set up a consultation. So anyways, that's what happened. She says, hey, told me to give me a call. You can help me out, but I only have 10%. I was like, whoa, you're aggressive, lady. Like off the bat, but I only have 10%. I was like, oh, okay, 10% of what? And there was like a pause, and she's like, I don't know what you mean. I only have 10%. I'll make sure I heard you. 10% of what? And there was like a longer pause. And I said, let me give you an example. Do you have $1,000, therefore 10% of 10,000? Or do you have $100,000, therefore 10% of 1 million? And I think in her mind, I could tell that she's like, this bastard is trying to find out how much money I got. And he says, listen, I only have 10%. Can you help me? Yes or no? I want a nice house. That was like the funny part. I want a nice house. And I said, you know what? Let's go ahead and restructure the conversation. I actually do. I have a fantastic, it's a beautiful home, 4 bedrooms, 3.5 baths, 3,000 square foot home at the top of the hill in an area called the Dominion. Great neighborhood. You're not going to find better school district. And it's available for 10% down. It's a $1.5 million home. So you'll be able to buy it with $150,000. Do you have 150? No. Well, how much do you have? I only have 80,000. Fantastic. Well, we can't get you into the $1.5 million home, but with $80,000, we might be able to get you into a $400,000 home, which has great options in San Antonio. Would you like to look at those? So again, you got to get them out of the percentage world and get them into the dollar amount world. That is massively powerful to pre-qualifying these leads. I don't want you to look at bank statements. I don't want you to look at P&Ls. I don't want you to look at balance. That is not your job. Your job is simply to verbally pre-qualify them, believe them. If they say they have the money, believe them if they don't, if they say they don't have the money. Do y'all have any questions on how to pre-qualify the people for an initial phone consultation with us?
I'll also say in the market that we're going into, this is going to be very powerful to separate you and to put money in your pocket. I promise you. Like I am licking my chops for this market because this is how I built Alamo Home Source. I built it in 2008 in a down market when everyone was looking for owner financing. The banks were tightening up, interest rates were a little higher, and I mean we were doing 115 houses a year, all owner finance. So as an agent, you can bang your head against the wall fighting every other agent out there trying to find the handful of buyers and the handful of houses, or you can use Dan's method, separate yourself, find a niche, and make so much money the next couple of years, you're going to be begging for another recession.
100%. Jackson has a question. You owner finance sub twos. So I don't like to. I don't like to unless there's a 20% equity position. And the model that I'm talking about here is not about properties that we buy and we owner finance. That isn't an advantage to you. That isn't, because again, there's only that one house. We do have houses that we owner finance, but that's not the advantage to you. The advantage to you as an agent is to get the 3% commission and represent them so that they can buy any home off the MLS. That's the model that that will make you money. Do I have homes that we have in inventory? A couple from time to time. Are some of them subject to? Yeah, we like to keep our subject twos at rentals. A dirty little secret that Eric, I'm sure, is very well aware. If you're in the note business, you have to have your rental income to offset those taxes. I mean, there is zero benefits in the note business. So you need to, yeah, for taxes.
Yeah, that's the love-hate relationship of real estate notes, is it's ordinary income.
It is 100%. Any other questions on how to pre-qualify? Just ask them, what price point of a home are you looking for? Do the math to 30%. Ask them if they have it. Any number close to that they have it, send them over to pre-qualification. If the number is very far, so again, if you're asking for 150,000 and they say they only have 50, that's pretty far. Ask them how long it'll take them to put the money together. If they give you any response that sounds like it'll happen in the next 3 months or less, it's not a problem. I'll get the money. You don't worry about it. Couple months, few weeks, all those, send them for pre-qualification. They have the money. If they say any amount that is long, like, oh man, it's going to take me another year and a half, they don't have the money. we probably cannot help.
So if I have a client, whatever kind of client it is, and I send them over here, how do you know that that's my client? You know, because let's just play devil's advocate. Oh, Dan's gonna steal my client. Oh,
I'm not an agent. I literally cannot.
But is there, like, do they put their name in there?
Yes.
And obviously they're looking at a house with you that they're going to come back and say, Dan can do it. Hooray.
Yeah.
You know, but how do you
So
track that?
to kind of to kind of give you a little bit of feedback, we're not doing Eric's 120 houses every 3 weeks or however many you did back in the day. We're doing about 4 to 5 deals per month. So we know exactly where it leads from. We haven't lost a single lead. Obviously, communicate. You're going to have my contact information. Hey, Dan, sending over a client. You're not going to be sending over 10,000 clients a week. I mean, I'd love to, but you're not. That's okay. You're going to be sending maybe 4 or 5 a year, and it's okay. You're going to make money off of those 4 or 5 a year. So communication is very close. Let me know you're sending a client. Let me know what the name of the client is. We always do a job. We've never had a client that comes to us without us knowing where they came from. And 99% of our leads come from agents. So we've always been able to reconnect them back. It's just like if you send someone to Wells Fargo to get pre-qualified, they're not going to do anything with your client. They're going to find out how they came. I'm just the Wells Fargo 200 finance people. That's all I am. I'm not an agent. I cannot steal your client. It's pointless for me to put them into the 2 or 3 homes that we have in inventory at the time, to answer y'all's question, because you pitched them buy any home off the MLS. So we've never lost a client. But that doesn't mean you need to stop communicating. You need to let me know, hey, we're sending over a client.
Bernice, you need to move that camera.
Very, very nice. Now,
I turned it on because I actually had a question.
Sure.
So in this scenario, we own a house that's currently rented out. Okay. The tenant actually falls into exactly your box, right? Because she doesn't have a social security number. I don't know if she's from Mexico or
I don't know.
somewhere South America. Doesn't matter. But anyway, the goal is eventually for her to buy the house. Now, we had already mentioned, possibly seller financing it at some point. Down payment, all that kind of thing. I kind of mentioned, maybe she'll need like 30 grand or something to do this. I know it's going to take time for her to build that up, but in the meantime, what would you recommend that I talk with her about, or kind of prepare her ahead of time for when she actually comes your way? Like, because it's going to take a year, maybe something like that, before she can move forward.
Yeah.
So
what's the price point of the home?
It's probably like $170,000.
And it'll appraise for that amount?
It already has. Yeah.
Oh, okay, cool. So do you happen to know what her credit score is? If she has a credit score, people with no social sometimes have a credit score, sometimes they don't.
No clue. No clue.
Okay, so I would put in front of her $48,000.
Okay.
As a goal, $48,000. Now, if she has a credit score, 9 out of 10 times it'll be good. I love my Mexican nationals, my friends south of the border. I don't know how, but they have like 800 credit score whenever they do have a credit score. If they don't have a credit score, then it's NA. So in that case, we'd be able to close it with 32. So I would say in her case, as soon as she has 32, let's do a phone consultation. We'll figure out where she falls. If it happens to be in the 48, we can do that. Now, would you like to be involved in the transaction, or would you like to get cashed out? There's magic to both answers.
What do you mean with being involved?
Let's hear what being involved entails.
I'm gonna go over probably the 10 o'clock mark, but I do want to share this with you because y'all are investor minded. So I do this. I present this opportunity if the seller is somebody like you, where it's like, hey, maybe there's an advantage to it. What is your debt on the property right now? Just give me a round number.
About 75,000.
That's great. So let's say, and again, I'm just going to throw numbers at you. Let's say, I'm just going to throw numbers at you, that you want to enjoy the cash flow associated with notes. I'm totally okay if the seller takes a second lien on any and all portion of it. So for example, if you want us to cash you out at 75,000, at 85,000, at 95,000, at 100,000, at 110,000, and you want to take a second position on the balance and create note and cash flow for yourself, you're more than welcome to.
Mm.
So
Cool.
that's what you can do to participate. Now, the advantage that that does create is that now the barrier of entry for the buyer is lower. So for example, let's say I'm just going to shoot $100,000. We'll bring in $100,000 to the table. That means that they probably only need to come up with maybe $20,000 to close the transaction. You'll take a second lien on the other $60,000, and you can do it at whatever rate you want. You can underwrite it the way you want to. You've probably you're not going to do 3 in a year, so literally Wild West is what you want to do. If you want me to help you kind of structure it in a profitable and advantageous way, I can do that at no charge. But that's a way to get into the cash flow. And because we're bringing $100,000, the debt is paid off and you walk away with 25,000. So that is an option. I don't. So for you agents out there who think I'm going to talk about this to sellers, I'm not. I'm talking about this to y'all because of this unique situation that was brought and the possibility that there might be an interest on your part. It makes no difference to me. I'll cash you out at 165 if you want.
Right. No, that's awesome. I like the fact that it gives them a chance to get in with a little bit less. It's kind of and over the year or 2 years that this individual as a tenant will be able to build that trust. And I guess we would know a little bit better if we want to be involved after the loan is created. But yeah, that's cool.
Nice.
Yeah,
Anyone have any
there's
other
definitely an
questions?
interesting angle because I would say most of our agents are investors or want to become investors. And, that presents, they created this equity, but then they can't take advantage of it. Well, with what you just talked about, you can take advantage of it. If you've created this equity, you could put yourself in a position to have some cash flow on the back end.
100%. So we work also very closely with just traditional investors, like a lot of your agents, I'm sure, and they use us as a way to recycle their capital. So maybe they have $120,000 in hard money that they need to get out of, but their home is worth $200,000. We go ahead and cash them out at the 120 that allows them to recycle their capital, and they create a second note for their profit. So it's very powerful for you to get into the note business without necessarily you bringing money. You're bringing your profit or your equity into the transaction.
Turning equity into cash flow.
Yeah,
like
Eric,
it.
you're so smart. I'm smarter than I look, I promise. But again, agents, I don't want you to think that this is a conversation I'm going to have with traditional sellers. I don't. This is a conversation that I have with investors, and usually it's they're the ones who initiate the conversation of how it can be had.
This is
Okay.
actually this brings up another question. Do you do this for investors? If I wanted to buy a rental property.
Great question. So the answer is unfortunately no, and I'm going to explain why. When we raise our capital, one of the promises that we make to our investors, to our private lenders, is that their capital will be used for site-built, single-family, owner-occupied homes only. Owner-occupied. So that unfortunately eliminates. The other thing is, our interest rate usually will not allow you to cash flow. So why would you use this? I mean, there are cheaper interest rates out there that will allow you to cash flow a lot better. So one of those weird situations that we can't and you don't want us. Good question though.
Makes sense. Yeah.
Anyone else?
You're so smart.
I'm smarter than I look, I promise. I learned from a few of the best over there on San Pedro.
San Pedro.
So moving along, so we got the pre-qualification, send them over to initial phone consultation. What happens after that? Whenever we do the initial phone consultation, this is about a 45 to 55 minute, over the phone session. There's obviously no cost, no commitment at that point, but that's our platform to educate them, to answer all their questions. I'm a big believer in no surprises, full transparency. I believe we have a lot of value to bring to them, but at the end of the day, they need to know exactly the costs involved in doing business with us. So everything will be laid out so that once they decide to move forward, they know exactly what to expect from us and what we are going to expect from them. As a testimony to our transparency, we have never had a single client back out because of something new that came along the process. Everything is disclosed up front. Once they give us a green light after the consultation, they're going to get a letter of pre-approval. Once they get the letter of pre-approval, you're going to do the normal things that you do with any buyers: show them homes, make offers, submit contracts. Once there's a contract in place, we're going to go ahead and bring the contract over to me. Let me know what the option money was. Let me know what the earnest money was, what the price is, all that good stuff. We're then going to raise the capital so that we're able to close on the transaction. We have the money, and we're going to kind of wait until the option period ends, because nobody does anything during the option period. We're waiting to see whether the buyer is actually going to buy. Once the option period begins, then that's where everyone begins. Title company as well as us. We make sure that we have funds in house. We order the appraisal. It is a third-party, unbiased, lottery-based, conventional loan type of appraisal. We want to make sure the home appraises. Once the appraisal comes back in, we can normally close 3 days after that. So start to finish, it isn't very different than a conventional mortgage situation. About 28 days from contract to closing. It's definitely not any longer than that. The appraisal is usually the one that kind of slows things down a bit. Depending on the risk profile, we're going to do it in one of two ways. If they are low risk to us, and low risk to us means 250 to 450, the home price, in a major metro area of San Antonio, Austin, Dallas, Fort Worth, or Houston, and a credit score of 620 or higher, they're going to get approved with 20% total initial investment. We're going to operate under a strict funding platform. So the deed is going to go from the seller to the buyer, and we're just going to be acting as a funding source. If it is a higher risk, for example, if the credit score is under 620, if the home is under 250 or more than 450, if the home is not in a major metro area of San Antonio, Austin, Dallas, Fort Worth, or Houston, if anything is off of those ranges, we'll still do it, but that's when we will need a 30% total initial investment, and we will operate under the concept of buying and reselling. So that's there's a little bit of a difference. Full disclosure, when we buy and resell, there will be a markup under that platform. How much is the markup? We're having a hard time. We used to do 10%. Now we're doing 20% because of the market conditions. But that is disclosed in the initial phone consultation, whether we believe it'll be a low risk funding strict structure, or whether it's a slightly higher risk, higher initial investment buying reselling structure. So they're going to know during the initial phone consultation. So once things close, title's going to be in their name. They're going to get a 30-year mortgage, no balloons, no prepayment penalties, no mortgage insurance. It's the real deal. I mean, they'll enjoy all the benefits of home ownership. We use a third-party note servicing company to make sure that they get their 1098 at the end of the year, to make sure that they're able to write off the interest on their taxes, to make sure that they can refinance if they want to, and make sure that everyone is paid. Reporting to credit bureaus. If they want us to report to credit bureaus, we can do so. I believe the cost is $8 a month. It's not ours, but it's the servicing company. Riches are in the niches. We do have a small group of portfolio of deals, probably about 6-7%, that the reason they came to us is for privacy. So they don't want it to be reported on the credit bureaus. We're totally okay with that. And these are high-end homes. These are mid-range celebrities. These are attorneys. These are accountants. These are doctors. These are people that have their faces on billboards. that the home they're buying may or may not be for their wife. Just saying, they enjoy privacy. So riches are in the niches, you know, and they're looking for $1 million properties. So I don't
I
ask
need
a
to
lot of
be
questions.
someone's Sancha. That's what I need. I need that.
Yeah, it's funny, Eric. The first client that we got, he just was, this is not going to be on my name. We did it in a land trust in his case. I'm like, I don't care if it's in your dog's name. I don't care who the house name is under. You know, it doesn't change the obligation for you to us. And it's not going to create him a credit. And then we met his wife. I'm like, oh, that's not your wife. I see why you're interested in privacy, Mr. His face is on many billboards in San Antonio.
Yeah.
So anyways, do you guys have any questions on that?
On the mistress thing or on the owner finance
No.
thing?
On the process of from the initial phone consultation approval all the way down to closing.
Mm-mm.
Very nice. So if there are no questions, I'm going to test y'all to see who is ready to take action. And something that I do for training classes whenever it's together, if you bring me a client that qualifies and we close on them, aside from your commission, if you bring them to me within the next 30 days, so the hard stop is January 15th, not that they close in 30 days, but you bring them to me and we close on them and we do a deal, I do have a $1,000 bonus for you. That's just a reward for those who take massive, immediate action. That's aside from your bonus, from your commission. That is just a bonus and a thank you from me for taking action and bringing them down. Not per lead. I know how y'all think. We have to close on them and we have to be able to take care of them.
And I would say that's probably the biggest issue with the difference between successful people and non-successful people are those that talk about it and those that actually go out and start doing something. You know,
100%.
I've never had an issue of I'm probably too far on the other side is that I have an issue not doing something. And so I tend to do a lot of things, but I'm never scared to go after it. And I mean, immediately.
Henceforth the dam camp.
Henceforth the dam camp. And hey, to build some, my wife sent me a picture of shipping containers and I'm like, I got an idea. I'll be right back. Well, I mean, look at the rise, like the co-working space in downtown. I'm driving around being silly. I post on Facebook, I'm going to get a building downtown Seguin. Like 3 days later, I had it under contract because once it got in my head, I was like, shit, I got to do it now. I'm going to go crazy sitting here thinking about downtown buildings. So you got to
Side note, what's the cost to operate there? I have been finding myself in Seguin more often. What's the cost to?
It starts at $75 a month, and it can go up to $450 a month. For what you're doing, just to drop in, meet a client, have some coffee, $75.
Okay, I'll get with you after that.
If you want to add printing, like if you need to print something while you're here, then it's $99 a month versus $75. So real low point of entry.
Love it. I'll share it. Awesome. Well, I know there's a hard stop at 10 o'clock and it's 9:59. Unless you have any massively important questions, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and in the comments section, I'm going to go ahead and share my contact information. Please jot it down. And I look forward to doing business with Whiteline for sure. I love working with agents. Make it happen.
Well, we have agents all over Texas. Tanner is here to help grow us. Our goal is to have over 100 agents by the end of next year, and then continue to add 100 agents a year afterwards. Our big goal is 2,500 agents in the state of Texas. So this is his second month. He's doing fantastic, and you know we're trying to grow. So I think you're going to be your model, Dan, will be huge for a lot of our agents because most of them have an investment background or want to do something, as well as it's a unique niche. So Definitely thank you for taking your time this morning. It's powerful, you know, and I hope the people that watch this take initiative. You know, you got to do something.
And something else that I like to, and I know it was a 10 o'clock hard stop, but something I want to share real quick. If somebody wants to take the initiative and brand themselves as self-employed focused or owner finance focused or owner finance specialty, give me a call. We have a great graphics team, and we've provided graphics so that on your profile picture there can be quasi certifications that appear. It's super important to brand yourself if that's what you want to do, and that's at no cost. Just give us a call. We want more people sharing the opportunity of owner finance purchases.
Awesome. That's powerful. Cool. Thanks, Dan. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you so much. Y'all have a great one.
Merry Christmas to all of y'all.
Thank you. Merry
Happy
Christmas,
holidays.
guys.
Thank you so much. You guys have a great one. Take care.
Yes.
Bueno, bye.
We'll see ya. Bye bye.